What's up, it's Cabe Sipes, Custom Audio Reimagined. Please excuse my voice. I'm still getting over being sick, but today we can finally start. It's about 4 in the afternoon on Monday. I can finally start on this 64 Ford Falcon Futura. It's been here for a month. The customer's been fine with it, but man, I haven't been able to do this thing yet because I've been waiting on one piece, and the piece finally came today. It has been bouncing around Canada for a month. And it's not as if this car is getting some crazy big system, but I did not want to start it until this piece came, because this is the critical part to make what I want this car to do happen. And what I was waiting on, and it's not their fault. Retro Radio Shop, I just found these people. I've never used them before. I spoke to the gentleman, not sure what was going on, but this piece went from British Columbia and then like across Canada, then down to California, then back up to Canada, then across Canada again. I sat there and just watched this thing, and it made no sense. It finally got here, and it's called the mobile emitter. This looks like some old technology, and it is. But it's exactly what I want to do for this car. This is going to be the way to do it if this works, and there's no reason it shouldn't work. What the hell is a mobile emitter? Okay, remember back in the old days, FM modulators, right? You could take your CD changer, and you could FM modulate it through your radio, and you have your stupid little gooseneck control. If you don't remember, there was a simpler time once, back when things were better. Technology was new and crazy, and it was a beautiful time. Anyway, if you don't know what a CD changer is or an FM modulator is, you are very young, or not very young, but you're younger than me, and you missed out on the golden years of fun. From what I understand, because I just did this crazy search with this idea in my head and I came across this device and it looks like it'll work. What it does is it goes in between the antenna of the factory radio. Yes, this 1964 Ford Falcon has an AM radio in it that still works.
Cabe will soon learn. This is not the case.
It's all original. That's awesome. If you tune the radio to AM 1000, this will interrupt and become an input. And this has an FM radio with it. So there's an FM tuner that I can mount like in the glove box or somewhere. It's a little display, digital display. And that allows you to have FM radio, which is what this customer wants, believe it or not. And then the volume and everything on the radio is still going to control everything as normal, right? So that's pretty cool. Now, this supposedly is supposed to have Bluetooth as well. And that will allow him to Bluetooth through the AM radio. That means I can leave the original radio in here, unadulter anything in this vehicle, leave it all stock, and let him have a new audio system off the factory AM with the FM radio he wants, and hopefully the Bluetooth as well. Now, once that's confirmed, which I'm getting ready to test this, once this is confirmed and it actually does what it's supposed to do, then I can move on to the original center channel speaker. I'm going to unhook the center channel speaker from the AM radio. It is going to run directly into the LC1I from audio control. So we're going to go high level into here from the AM radio. Now this is very important. The reason we're going with this and not just some standard low level, converter is two things. One, line driver. This has a line driver. This radio is only producing 6 watts of power. So 6 watts of power going into this is not going to really give us too much coming out for the low level. It's going to be kind of weak. So we got the line driver here that's actually going to boost that signal internally and give us something to actually work with coming out the other side. The other huge thing is the loads. See, it's got the load selector there. Go ahead and go for teaching moment. And for all you old cats out there that are getting ready to get angry at the way I explain this, you have to understand, I'm used to teaching these youngins. So this is how you do it. Old cars have old radios. Old radios used to work on tubes. So your little tube amplifiers, you know, the thing that looks like a light bulb sitting there in the old amp and it'd turn on and glow. Okay, that's before transistors. So before you had a transistor, you had a tube. That tube was doing what transistors do. If you have a radio before 1962, when it's a Ford, those were all tube radios. If you unhook a speaker from a tube radio and turn on the radio, you will nuke the radio. It will blow up. The tube, everything, gone. It is 100% relying on the resistance, the load of that speaker to keep that in check, to keep that tube and everything in check as far as the voltages. Transistor radios, you should be able to unhook a speaker and still have the radio on and not blow it up, but that's not a guarantee. Ford stopped in 1962 using tube radios. They went to transistors, but this is a 64. You're only 2 years into this new technology, so you have to be careful because they can blow up. Some of the transistor radios right at the beginning were still utilizing some of the old basic technology from the tube, so they were still reliant on that resistance for certain things. So what this has is a 15 ohm resistance. So this is running 15 ohm resistance off the speakers. This allows me to put the load selector, I'll put it on 20, that'll be fine. It's gonna keep that load presented to the radio so that the radio doesn't blow itself up, doesn't nuke itself. Because remember, this is the original radio. We don't want it to blow, and we still need the AM radio to work for our emitter over here to work. Make sense? So that's why we're going with the LC1. On top of that, this also is going to give us our remote turn on. That will go to the Epic 4. This is Audio Control's new entry-level line. Entry-level meaning to compete with like Scar and Sundown and a lot of these brands that are coming out with really lower price points, and they're kind of taking a chunk out of the market, but their products kind of suck. So this is their 4-channel, and it's a good amp. They're great amps. They just strip it down. So this doesn't have a bunch of the features that the newer amps do, that their other series do, but I don't need those features, not for this car. All I need is high pass crossovers and I'm golden. So we're gonna go out of here, into here, and then this is gonna power. I have 2.75 inch drivers. My plan is, which I haven't even figured out yet if it can be done, to build a new plate for the center dash speaker to hold 2 of these, remove the factory speaker and drop the plate in with 2 of these in there. And then we have 4-inch drivers going in the rear deck because it currently has 2 4-inch Pioneers in the rear deck. I don't know when it was done, but it was definitely done in the 70s. Because these Pioneer speakers back here are straight up vintage. Everything will work in this car as it does now, all through the factory AM radio. How cool is that gonna be? I know you're not amazed by this, but dude, it took a lot of thinking to come up with this plan. I know you've all seen this car in the background, a lot of my videos, and it has gotten real dusty here at the shop. Kind of makes me want to puke how dusty it's gotten, but I don't want to touch it. I don't want to scratch the paint. So we're gonna go ahead and blow it off here before we start, but I want to show the inside. How clean this thing is. This is a beautiful, beautiful car. I've had a lot of cars come through here and a lot of old cars, and this is the cleanest old car I've ever had in here. Everything in here seems to be like original. And if it's not original, it was replaced with a part that looks original and everything feels original. It's just an amazing car, dude. Everything about this is beautiful. And that radio, this is how you know it's a Futura, that bar. See the bar running across here? If it's not a Futura, that bar is not there. It'd just be the scroll dial and those buttons all as one little square. But that bar is what makes this thing a real pain in the ass to try and even put a radio in that isn't going to cost an arm and a leg, and it's not worth what it's going to cost to do. We have the L Vintage Pioneers. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't even looked in the trunk yet. All this time this car's been sitting here. I didn't want to play with this guy's car. I didn't want to go through and mess with it. I didn't want to mess with it till I was ready to work on it. I don't know why, it's the way I am. So I should probably take a look in the trunk to kind of see what I'm working with in there to know where I'm going to put the amplifier. Another thing to remember on these older cars, all the bulbs and everything in here, nothing was LED. So it's all real bulbs. It's like right now the dome light's on because the door's open. There's no computer in here to like time it out, right? Best practice, either unhook the battery or at least figure out to push in the stop for the door, the pin, or remove the bulbs if you have to, because you will end up with a dead battery quicker than hell if you have the doors open, because those bulbs drain the battery fast. Oh, and the trunk doesn't disappoint. Look how clean the trunk even is. Yeah, you got the little air freshener in there, or the dryer sheet in there. Yeah, man, this car's so nice. If you can't tell, I'd love to own this car. What we have here, emitter there. I've got this Pioneer radio. I've got it tuned to AM 1000 like it says. Yeah, this remote, if you hit the A button, right now it's off, so you can listen to AM. So now it's in Bluetooth mode. Yeah, that's rough, okay? You have to be ready with the volume. The radio is actually only on like, yeah, it was on 11. So we'll put it on 10. The Bluetooth phone that I have over here, because it's plugged in charger, it's barely up the volume. So what's happening is it's overmodulating severely. But like if we look here, okay, we'll put the Bluetooth, it's less than half. So it's playing over there. I don't want to get copyright struck. If I turn this on, that turns on the FM.
It will be held every Thursday through October 30th.
Let's see, picking up FM stations.
At 11 a.m. In other
But
news,
this has its own volume, so watch how quickly this goes overmodulated.
Several Indiana weather radio stations offline this week. Updates are scheduled to start today
crackle.
and last for at least Wednesday. To find a full list of the affected stations,
You're basically riding the razor's edge of distortion. So I'm going to have to really try to fine tune and figure it out. And yeah, I'm calling it done. I literally just broke down my little test setup there and I almost fainted. So I'm getting very lightheaded and feeling very ill. So I am done. I'm going to go home and take a COVID test and see if I still have it or if this is just something else that's coming in after it. But I don't need to be working on someone's car right now. So I'll see you tomorrow. What's up? We are back in the shop on the 64 Ford Falcon. And I've already been here working for a couple hours, but it was really early and I didn't want to wake you guys up. So I've already started doing some disassembly. It's also raining outside, so if you hear the rain on the roof, sorry, metal shop, I can't really help it. But I have got the dash speaker out. I can see where I can go. I'm just kind of baby stepping through here. Don't want to cause any damage or scratches, but we have discovered this car used to have an aftermarket radio in the glove box because I have found speakers mounted under the dash, speaker mounted up by the left foot for the driver's side. And that explains why these two Pioneer speakers are in the rear deck, because I didn't know what was powering them. Someone already had a radio in here, and I'm going to have to remove all of this wiring that I'm finding because it's, you know, old and doesn't need to be here. Well, I'll show you what I found because it's kind of funny. It's definitely what you could tell that an old mechanic or like an old car guy that's not an audio guy did, because first of all, they use standard like bolts, like a standard screwdriver. Only old people do that, okay? Nobody's using a standard head bolt for anything, but it's funny. You gotta see these. So here I've got the ashtray out. I pulled this yellow wire out because there's a wire nut on it, and that just doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy, because if that's a hot wire, I just want to go ahead and I'll insulate the end of that just in case, so we don't want it doing anything. Here is the mono speaker output from the AM radio, which is right there. Up underneath here, right there, that is the antenna. Goes into the side of the AM radio, so we have access there. I pulled off the dash here, took out the speaker that was there. There was a Metra 4 to 8 ohm speaker, it says. Kind of weird. I can't remove that because they did a RPM gauge and they ran the wiring through that vent, and I really don't feel like undoing the entire gauge. So I've just put a pad on there, moved everything over to the side. I found this. And I was like, what in the hell? I was like, that's the old radio harness. And then I saw this. I was like, hell yeah, brother. And then I was like, where's my left side? So I looked over and it's, see it back there in the corner? Hell yeah, brother. But my favorite is the way they're mounted. I mean, this is some old mechanic shit. Look, come on, man. So I actually have to go get out my standard screwdriver. I'm gonna take that down and then try to figure out if any of this is factory wiring, if it's going anywhere, or if it's just going to those speakers. If it is, then I just need to remove it all. One thing in an old classic car, if possible, you never, ever, ever, ever want to leave dead wiring. They're already confusing enough because usually people have been in here, done engine work, this and that. And most people's wiring skills suck. I mean, honestly, they're just not OCD about it. And they just kind of, think you just throw some wire down. Whenever you come across wiring that's old or doesn't do anything or it's not going to be used, just get it out of there. So in the future, the next guy doesn't have to stare at a bundle of taped up wires and be like, what do those do when they do nothing? So I'm going to go ahead and track all those. I think everything that's wrapped in that newer electrical tape is going to be just aftermarket wiring that doesn't need to be there. But I need to cut it all open, verify there is no factory wires in that bundle. I'm not completely over this COVID thing, but Jesus, I'm just beat. Like, I have no energy. I have no stamina. Normally I work till 10, 11 o'clock at night, and it's like 4:30 right now. And I'm literally exhausted. It's a beautiful day. I'm like sweating, like I have fever, and my ears are all clogged up. I got, what's that called? Everything's all spinny. I'm all dizzy and stuff, and it sucks, man, because I want to work, but I don't mentally. So I will show you where I'm at. I'm about ready to honestly just call it a day, and then tomorrow, I mean, I'm in a good place. There's no questions, like everything's figured out. Now it's just execution. So I lasered out, I have acrylic, this plate. It's got 2.75 inch. This is what's going in the dash. There's a big bolt right there, so I had to laser that out. It's actually being held on with the brackets on the back there. I'm not gonna put the grills on because I think the grills will actually interfere with the metal grill that goes over top. So this pretty well go, just need to, wire them up. Here we have a rack. Off to the left and right hand side of the trunk, there's these pieces of wood that have been cut and they're mounted. They're really deformed and warped, so I remade this one. I'm actually going to mount this on the driver's side. I'm going to take the piece that's in there now and put it to the bottom of this so it's doubled up, and this will actually straighten the other one out. Then it'll mount down to the factory points where there's 3 points in the floor. But this will be off to the side of the trunk. So over here, be able to run our wiring, power and ground right up into there, get the speakers. Then we come over here with the high level in. We need the power and everything to here also. And then we'll jump out RCA from here right over to here. So we need to probably make our own RCAs because I really don't want to have any wad of RCAs sitting here. So I just need to solder my own set that can do that little jumper there. And then that's it. Very simple, basic, clean. That's gonna go mobile emitter. Mobile emitter. I'm gonna mount that in there, not right like that, but it's gonna be mounted in the glove box. The plate goes up here where those were, then that can be put back over with the RPM gauge. Down here, we've pulled the speaker wire. This is what's running from the radio. So we have a line that's gonna run all over to the back. That'll be the high level going into the LC1I. We've removed the old Pioneers out of the rear deck. We've got new speaker wire up there. And there are the 4-inch audio controls. They test fit, they drop right in. So that's a matter of putting in 4 screws and putting the terminals on the speaker wire, and those are ready to go. Then here in the trunk, this is that panel that I was referring to that was already in here. And it just comes out. And then you got that gap down there. I thought about doing something down there, but I just didn't trust it. But you can see this is just beat up and old, so I'm gonna mount this to the bottom side of the new board that I made, and then they will go right here. There's an air line right here. So I'm wondering if this thing has air shocks or what, because it's running somewhere. I'll have to ask the customer, but it's definitely an air fitting there to hook air up to. So this will go over here, which you got to go under this light around here, and you don't want to pinch that air fitting. So that comes up over the top. And then there's 3 screws right here that mount right there. This goes over. And that'll be the trunk. Again, very simple, basic. I've got everything already braided and ready. We've got 8 gauge power, 8 gauge ground, because we're not running enough power that we need to be running 4 gauge. I'm gonna run dedicated ground and power all directly off the battery, because on older cars, I don't like grounding anywhere because you'll get noise, and it's just go straight from the battery. If you have noise straight from the battery, then you're just kind of screwed, because that's your best ground in the vehicle. So that means that battery's not grounded very well. So we've got the lines there. Then the other bundle is the 2 speakers going in the dash, the high level coming from the factory radio, a remote that's going to come from the remote output here, and it's going to turn on that emitter. So when he turns on his key, turns on the radio, that's going to power that up. So then he can turn it on and off whenever he wants. Pretty basic at this point. It's just climbing around in there and running it. And therein lies the problem. I'm not motivated at all. And I'm getting really dizzy. Maybe I should go ahead and finish this tomorrow, because I seem to be okay in the morning. It's as the day gets later, I get like this. About 4 o'clock, I've noticed for the last few days, I'm like this. And then when the sun goes down, then I feel like ass again every night. So there you go. I just explained to YouTube that basically I'm a big whiny bitch and I don't feel good. And with that said, I think I've just decided I'm done. So I'll see you tomorrow.